Hello and welcome back to my channel. This week we are back with our 30-minute or less Cricut projects, and we are going to be doing a wrapped tumbler design, except we're gonna do it a little more beginner friendly, and we're gonna put each piece on one at a time. I really find that that's a little bit easier when you're first getting started than trying to line up a wrap and make sure it's like even and no bubbles and all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna place each decal one at a time. It's gonna take a smidge longer, but it's gonna be a lot easier and a lot more foolproof. And we are gonna be doing a cutie little balloon animal design. So don't miss it, stick around. You won't regret it. Okay, so the materials you need for today's project, you can get all of them at mycraftsource.com. This is a sublimation, like glass can cup. But fun fact, just because it's for sublimation does not mean you have to use it for sublimation. I use these little sublimation cups and just put vinyl on them all the time, and they work really, really well. The vinyl actually sticks really well to the glass, and I put mine through the dishwasher, and they last. So fun fact there. This is the 16-ounce sublimation glass can cup from MyCraftSource, and then all of our vinyl today is also from MyCraftSource. We'll start with our transfer tape. It is the Style Tech medium tack transfer tape. And then we're using 3 colors of vinyl today for our design. We are using all StarCraft HD permanent vinyl, and we have light pink, hot pink, and lime green for a very fun, very summery balloon animal design. So get excited. Let's hop right into it. We're gonna start by hopping over to Cricut Design Space, and I'm gonna show you how to get your design set up. But that is all for our materials. The only thing that you will also need is just some basic tools, scissors, a weeding hook, and a Cricut mat. But if you have those things already, you are ready to rock for this beginner-friendly, 30-minute or less, wrapped tumbler balloon animal cup. Okay, so I've got my design pulled into Cricut Design Space here, and you can see that it's actually already grouped, and if I click on it, it's actually already the right size for this tumbler, which has a width or a circumference of about 9.75 and a height of about 5.5. So this is gonna be just under that size, which is nice because then we don't have to worry about overlap. And we're gonna be placing our decals one by one, so that's not gonna matter anyway. The one thing we are gonna make sure to do is attach. Actually, we're not even going to attach. If we were gonna apply this as a wrap, we might attach each of these stars and each of these different colored pieces of the balloon animal so they would cut in their respective place and make it a little easier for us to wrap our tumbler. But since we're placing our decals individually, we're gonna let our Cricut cut this in the most efficient way. So all we really need to do is get our Cricut fired up, and then we are ready to make it. We're gonna cut on 3 layers of vinyl on a mat, a 12 by 12 mat. And I do want my Cricut to remember this selection because that's what I'm gonna be using the whole time. This is great, it's just telling us that it's gonna cut it in the most efficient way. We don't need to mirror because we're using adhesive vinyl. And I'm just gonna quickly lay eyes on my other 2 layers here and make sure that they also look great, and they do. So we are ready to go. We're gonna hit continue. Let's turn on our Cricut. All right, so here on the screen, we're gonna select that we are cutting with premium vinyl removable mat. We're actually doing permanent mat, but it doesn't matter between permanent or removable, which you pick. And we're gonna do defaults, and we're gonna say we wanna remember the material settings because we are cutting with the same material with each layer. So once we've hit this point, we are ready to load up our mat and cut it. So I'm gonna hop off here and hop back over to the camera. This flashing unload and load button is telling us that we are ready to load our first mat. So we're gonna move everything else out of the way here except our first layer, which is our stars, which I'm cutting in this like citron green color. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I am going to untape my vinyl and get ready to open it up here. I really need to get one of those, I really need to get those slap bracelets to hold my vinyl rolls instead of just taping them all the time because it is truly a pain, but alas, we don't have those yet, so we're just taping, which means there's a little bit of vinyl waste with me usually because of that. In fact, I just wasted quite a bit. Goodness. I'm actually gonna see if I can't use this little in-between spot because these little stars are so tiny, just so I don't waste that piece, because that would be so sad. So I'm just gonna cut my vinyl here, cut off the taped part because I made a mistake. And then we're just going to lay our vinyl down, colored side up, and press it firmly onto our mat. If you have a squeegee, you could use it here to make sure it's just really laying down well. I find that my fingers and my hand do a pretty good job. And so now we are ready to load it between the two guide marks and press our load unbutton and press our load unload button and rock and roll. And then once the flashing play button starts flashing, it means it's ready to cut. So you can just go ahead and press that button and it will start cutting those stars. What we're gonna do to save time is, after it gets done cutting here, we're gonna go ahead and start weeding this layer while we're cutting our other layers. Then once your unload load button starts flashing again, you are ready to press that button and it will unload your mat. And you are ready to move on to the next step. So in this case, our next step is cutting our second layer. So we are going to peel our mat away from our vinyl to avoid any bend. You can set your first layer there. Our second layer is our darkest pink color. So I'm gonna go ahead and, runaway vinyl. I'm gonna go ahead and break that tape. And I'm going to check what size I need for this layer. Looks like I need a little more than 4 inches in height. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut about where I think that is. I'm just eyeballing it. Then I have my little tape pieces to contend with. So I'm gonna pick that off really quick and save this piece of vinyl. Again, don't recommend using tape to secure your vinyl, but alas, here we are. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm just gonna lay down my vinyl here. I've got way more than 4 inches in height. And that's just because I do have this little piece of tape down here that I do not want to cut. And once you got your vinyl all smoothed down, you are ready to repeat that process again. So you can just go in between your 2 little plastic guide marks right here and hit that flashing load unload button. Your Cricut is gonna read your mat and make sure you have enough available length before giving you that flashing go sign. Now that we have our flashing go button, I'm gonna go ahead and press it and let that start cutting. And while it's cutting, we are actually going to weed this green part, or yellow. You might be using yellow. And the easiest way to weed vinyl like this is just to take your hook and lead it to the edge of your vinyl, pulling up, and then you can actually release your hook and just gently peel backwards on your vinyl, letting it weed out your pattern. Especially when you have a really simple design like this, that's really all you need your weeding hook for. Your hands can do most of the work for you. So this layer is already weeded. And we will move on to our next as soon as it's done cutting these adorable little balloon animals. While it's doing that, I'll go ahead and tell you that we are using this pink layer as our, or this darker pink layer as our backing layer. The lighter pink layer is gonna be the top layer of our balloon animal. And so we're actually gonna be layering that lighter pink color on top of this dark pink color before we put it on our cup. That's just because it's a little easier to line up vinyl on a flat surface as opposed to a rounded surface like the cup. So we're gonna be using this hot pink layer as our backing layer here in a minute, but we're still gonna weed it just like normal. We're just not gonna take it off of this backing layer until we've layered our lighter pink layer on top. That second layer is done cutting, so we're gonna press our flashing unload load button. Okay, so this is our second layer done, our backing layer. So we're gonna go ahead and remove it from our mat here. And I'm just gonna set that aside and I'm gonna go ahead and load in my third layer, which is this pale pink color, which will be the top layer of our dog. Knowing that I'm gonna be layering that on top here in just a minute. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut more than I need, again, because I have to deal with this little tape issue that I've created for myself. I'm gonna go ahead and peel off this piece of tape. All right, so we've cut our lighter pink color. We're gonna do the exact same thing we did before, laying it at the top of our mat and pressing it firmly flat against the mat. removing as many bubbles as we can, double checking that we have the right height, which we do. Cricut Design Space is showing us that we need about 4 inches and we have about 5. Once it's firmly pressed down, sliding your mat under the guide marks and pressing the unload load button. While that gets loaded up, we're gonna let it do its thing, and then as soon as it presses go, we're gonna go ahead and be weeding our hot pink section just so we are ready. There it goes. Now, one thing I am gonna do is trim this hot pink one just a little bit because we have quite a bit of excess here. And when we have that much left over, it's nice to set some aside to save. Placing that to the side, and then we're gonna go ahead and weed our dog here. So same thing, you're gonna slide your weeding hook under, bring it to the edge of your vinyl. And then once you've got it pulled up away from its backing, you don't need this hook anymore. You can actually just set it to the side and just gently peel back, creating as flat of an angle as you can to prevent any pulling. And just gently pulling that vinyl away. And if you're using good quality vinyl, that is really all you need for these simpler designs. And it should give you a perfect weed every time. I'm gonna leave this just like this, even though we're gonna be adhering these individually, because we're about to layer our light pink on top of our dark pink. So I'm just gonna let this hang out, but look how cute they look. I am so excited to put this on our cup. And we are almost done getting that second layer cut, so I'm gonna go ahead and set these to the side. Unload that light pink mat, flip it over, pull it away from your mat. You are done with that Cricut mat, friend. Same thing, if you have quite a bit of excess like I do, you can go ahead and trim that away before we start weeding here. Just so you could save that piece for later and use it on a different project. And then we're gonna go ahead and weed this light pink layer. So same thing as before, take that weeding hook near a corner here, go to the edge of your vinyl, pulling it up until you can safely grab it with your fingers, and then just peeling away at as flat of an angle as you can to avoid pulling or ripping. And when you do that with these simpler designs, and with good quality vinyl, you should have no issue, but if one does try to stay behind, like that little tail just did, you can just use your weeding hook to encourage it back down onto your mat. And then you can repeat what you were doing, gently pulling away. It looks like these little poofy tails kind of want to stick a little bit, so you can just use your hook like you can see I'm doing here from overhead, just to encourage it to lay flat. You can even push it right back into place if it moves a little bit, which sometimes they want to do. Gently peeling. Sometimes you have to slow down just a little if you get in a rush like me. And there you go. And if you have something that came off target a little bit, like I suspect this little guy did, you can actually see the little indentions where it's supposed to be. You can put it right back in its place. But that is that layer. We are now ready to layer our light pink on top of our dark pink. We are done cutting with our Cricut, so we can turn it off and close it up. Let's get to layering. So what you're gonna need is a piece of transfer tape for this part, and you really don't need that big of a piece, and you can reuse the transfer tape piece that you do have. So what I do is I try to get, if I had better fingernails today, this would be a lot easier, but get a piece started. Sometimes I use the edge of my desk just to hold it flat so I can get a nice taut angle there. I just slide it along like wrapping paper. And then I'm just gonna take a little square because we're just layering these little dogs right now. So you really just need a small square. And then what you're gonna do, we'll start with one of these bigger ones because it's gonna be a little easier. You're gonna just lay your transfer tape on top of that dog, pressing it down completely. You can just use your fingers for this, just rub it down. Flip over that whole piece and gently peel away, making sure that that whole dog comes with it. So now you have that top layer of the dog on your transfer tape. And then you're just gonna line it up and lay it down on your dark pink. I usually like lining up the tail right here because that's the most precise piece. And then once you have it lined up, you can just gently and slowly peel away at, again, as flat of an angle as you can manage to avoid any bubbling or pulling. And if you get a little bit of pulling like I did right here, you can just slide your hook underneath and lay it back down to avoid getting a bubble there. And so we're just gonna repeat that process on all of our dogs here, making sure that everything is lined up, making sure that everything is attached. And once you kind of get the hang of it, you can just kind of press it down with your finger and just gently lift, and that dog will come right up. And then again, when we layer, we're gonna use our tail as our guide mark here because that's gonna set the angle and the spacing for us pretty well. Pressing it down, and then just slowly peeling back at that very flat angle, making sure we don't leave any bubbles behind. Now at this point, if you didn't wanna worry about trying to peel it up and getting it off of your backing layer like that, you could go ahead and put it on your cup if you want to. I'm just doing this one step at a time, so we're gonna focus on layering our vinyl right now. But if that's frustrating to you and it's getting hard for you to pull your transfer tape away without bringing the whole sticker with it, no big deal. Just go ahead and put it on your cup because that's all we're about to do here in just a second anyway when we get done layering. So that is not a problem if you wanna go ahead and do that. All right, so that piece of transfer tape can go. So can our backing here. We're gonna go ahead and start by placing our dogs. I'm gonna get my little tumbler holder here. I use this when I wrap tumblers. I also use it when I put on pieces one at a time like this, just because I find that it helps everything stay still for me. Let's grab a new piece of transfer tape. All right, we're gonna start with these bigger dogs and place them first. So same thing, you're gonna lay down your transfer tape, slowly lifting that dog off of the backing. And this time we have the whole dog, right? We have both layers together here. So what we're gonna do is after you've wiped your cup down with an alcohol wipe to make sure it's nice and clean, or if you're feeling rogue today, you can skip that step. Go ahead and lay your dog down where you want it. Finding the first position is always easy because you have a whole cup to choose from. And then just using your thumb to smooth it out. Then when you find the edge, same thing, create a flat angle and slowly peel back. Then you can just turn your cup a little bit and grab another dog here. I'm gonna do just the big ones for now because they're gonna be the ones that are gonna be the hardest to find places for. And then we'll go back in and do the smaller dogs. I'm gonna do a good mix of kind of at the top and at the bottom. Gently following the curve of the cup to avoid bubbles here. Smoothing it down and then peeling away that backing layer. Last big dog. Transfer tape laying down, smoothing it out, smoothing it out, smoothing it out. Slowly peeling it out. And then I'm gonna make him jumping like straight down here. Smoothing it down, and then slowly peeling back. And now we're gonna go back and repeat the process with these littler ones, filling in all that empty space. And then we'll go fill in any other empty space with our little stars. So first I'm gonna put one up here. And I'm just kind of doing this by eyeballing it. Like you don't really have to measure this. You just kind of keep turning and looking for those open and empty spaces that you feel like need a little something. Some people say this is why it's better to like just create the whole wrap, lay it out how you want it, and then just wrap the whole cup. And I can see that. Like I can see how people would like doing it that way for consistency. But if you're just making this for you, you just lay them where you want to lay them. Sometimes that might mean you don't even use all of the vinyl that you cut. And that's totally fine. Nobody's gonna police you over it. So just put it where you wanna put it. That one got right up to the rim right there. All right, so we have all of our dogs. So now we're gonna come in with our stars and fill in our extra space. And this is where, ooh, we might need a new piece of transfer tape. Oh, no, we're still doing all right. I've got two sizes of stars here, so I'm just gonna kind of do some of these big ones. And then I'm gonna go over to the small ones. I'm not gonna use probably all of these. Ooh, I don't know. I'm really liking how this is looking, so maybe I will end up using them all. This piece of transfer tape is losing its sticky. We're gonna get another one. Oh, much better. Keep in mind that if you get on this rim up here, you may have to use your finger a little bit extra to encourage it along there. The other thing that I am known to do is sometimes I'll put one, I want it to hang off the edge, so maybe I'll just put it there, and then I just take my scissors and chop it and create that clean line so that it kind of looks like it's falling off the edge. I think that just adds a little extra fun to it. Maybe I will end up using all of these. There's only one left. Come on, I gotta find a spot for that now. Maybe I'll do another one hanging off the edge, kind of down here. And there she is. She's so cute. She's so fun. I love it. Okay, friends, that is it. That is our beginner-friendly 30 minutes or less wrapped balloon animal glass cup. I feel like this project could not have turned out any better. I cannot wait to use this cup. Let's be honest, my daughter will probably be the one using this cup. But we talked about layering adhesive vinyl, we talked about some transfer tape tips, we talked about easier ways to wrap a glass can if you don't want to put the full wrap on all at once. Great little hack for beginners to still get that wrapped tumbler look without having to line up a full tumbler wrap, which can be really challenging. So all in all, I think this is a 10 out of 10. And best of all, I find that when I use adhesive vinyl on these glass can cups, they are really durable. I put these through the dishwasher, and if you are gonna sell something like this, I would recommend getting Mod Podge dishwasher sealant that you can just swipe over it, let it cure for a few days, and you've got a quality dishwasher safe. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I will see you back next time for more 30 minutes or less Cricut projects. You can also check out the rest of my page where I have tons of other Cricut tutorials, sublimation tutorials, Canva tutorials, and so much more. Whether you're a Cricut beginner or a Cricut pro, you will definitely find something there that teaches you something new. And I hope you have a great rest of your week.